My name is Taig McNabb. I'm the technical manager for 360 Media, which is ITV's resources business in the north. And today I'm going to be talking about our part of the move over to MediaCity from Key Street. I started at ITV in 2011, and fairly quickly got roped into leading the project to migrate our technical facilities to from Key Street to MediaCity. And take a quick look at the history there. It was only just before I started in 2011. In 2010, the announcement was sort of finally made after quite a long while of talking about it. The announcement was made in December 2010 that ITV was going to move from Key Street a couple of miles down the road, 2.5 miles down the road to the MediaCity site, which is great news really from ITV's perspective. It's a real commitment from ITV to production in the north, and the investment that they were putting into that. So that was the difficult bit done, and now the small matter of actually getting just down the road without dropping a frame. So what are we talking about here? We make about 800 hours of broadcast content out of the Key Street site every year, which, if you broke it down, that's around 2.5 hours of on-screen time every day of the week, every day of the year. So it wasn't going to be simple. And from the resources point of view, we're in touch with the production at quite a number of points. We go right through the chain, really, from workflow, ingest, backup, edit graphics, right through to QC and transmission and the archive process at the end of the production process. So I'm just going to take a look through how we started this. We kind of had a blank canvas. This is the floor plate for the 4th floor of the orange building at MediaCity. And I'm going to concentrate on this. There's 3 floors that ITV occupy in that building, and I'm going to concentrate really this presentation on the 4th floor, which is the bit that I had the most to do with, basically. And we were given this blank page, and we started scribbling on it with ideas of where we wanted to put stuff, and there was dozens and dozens of those ideas. We've spent a good long time putting down every possible combination of sort of edit suites and dubbing theatres all down the side, down a corridor, grouped together in an island in the middle, around this little atrium in the centre. And after quite a long discussion process, we came up with this plan, which I'm sure you can all read from there. I'll talk you through it very, very briefly. There's a sort of news studio down at the bottom, our business development teams down here as well. Some meeting rooms, CITV, some office space, and up the top here really is the post-production facility, and then an enormous machine room just on the edge. And here's a more colourful view for you. The design was done, it's worth mentioning, by Manchester firm IDSR, and the build was done by Overbury. The post-production, again, at the end, has a small lid on it to keep the noise down, because we're a noisy bunch. That's what's under the lid. And that's generally my desk there, although there is a firm hot desking policy, so I'm sometimes found there, and sometimes in a meeting room somewhere, or on the 5th or 6th floors. Next up, we set about making a bunch of lists of anything you can imagine. Martin Nasuka's in the back there. I think one of those is your list. There, we made lists of everything we've got, everything we own, where it was, what the serial number was, which building it was, which room it was going to come from, where it was going to go to, right down to the keyboards, cables, the mice, you name it, there was a list for it. And then we went shopping for our systems integrator. We chose Route 6, who have got a small stand just behind us there. And Phil Crawley Crawley's the head of systems integration, and we sat down and scribbled enormous amounts of paper, which I now wish I'd taken a photo of, and I would display them just here. Lots of backs of envelopes on how we might go about setting the facility up at MediaCity. And those guys did an absolutely sterling job turning my crazy harebrained ideas into actual reality, and did fancy diagrams like this that do actually say something when you zoom in. There's lists of every single cable number and every single route of cable possible in the building. Um, then the fun really started, I suppose. We we were allowed to do really kind of what we wanted, but the budget was not particularly large. So the idea was to take as much as we possibly could from Key Street and reuse it. Certainly we weren't going to be buying any new sort of edit suites and things like that. All the equipment would generally stay the same. And that's where the list came in. So we took what we could, ditched what we didn't need, and then invested really heavily in cracking the problems and challenges that we'd come up with at Key Street. Key Street's a site that's been around for a long time and has developed and evolved over the years to the point through all of the different workflows where we're at the Firebase point now, and the infrastructure just wasn't designed for that, and we'd sort of been overpatching things and gradually and organically extending this network of computers. And we had the opportunity then to design a bit more of an elegant solution for MediaCity. Flexibility was at the key and core of that installation, and it was really to try and give the benefit that the office teams had had at ITV. We'd gone through a really nice technology refresh with people wandering around with buildings flooded with Wi-Fi and laptops everywhere, to enable people to sort of work however they wanted to, wherever they wanted to. And really I was trying to create the same idea for our facilities teams, and give them the choice of where and how they wanted to work. My sort of ethos was unlocking the space from the task. Why should you have to edit in an edit suite? Why can't you do VFX in a grading room? Why can't you edit in a meeting room if you wanted to? And that drove quite a lot of the decisions on the infrastructure side of things. As soon as you unlock that space from task, you sort of have the freedom to work from wherever you want within the building, within the both the facility and in the wider building. And there are obviously some jobs where that's not necessarily appropriate. You can't really do a grading session in the canteen, for example, but where it is appropriate, why not let people choose where they want to work? It's worth mentioning at this point, the system that allows us to do most of that is a product that we selected after quite a number of tests with other systems. We selected this product called Amulet Hotkey, which is a KVM solution that allows you to send computer signals basically anywhere in the building over a network cable. So over a single network socket, we can transmit a dual screen computer, the keyboard, the mouse, the audio, the mics, and that sort of stuff. This rack sits in your machine room where all the computers are, and then all that sits on your desk is this little box on the right, the Zero client it's called. And pretty much every single machine we've got in the facility is connected to this end of the system. And it means that at a press of the button on this box, you can connect to any of those systems. So you might be in an edit suite connected to an Avid machine, you punch the button and you get a list of machines that are in your machine room, and you're able to then say, I now want to sit in this edit suite but work on a Pro Tools system or work on an After Effects system. And you can do that from any network socket without having to move rooms, without having to move the position that you are, and you can even go across buildings. We've had these Zero clients sitting at Key Street while we've got the machines that they're operating in MediaCity. So very flexible system indeed. If we look at one of our lovely new suites there, this is a sort of nominally a craft edit suite, but as I say, it can do pretty much anything by punching the button. In there, you've just got screens, keyboards, mice, speakers, but no computer. On the desk, just there in the middle, is this Zero client Amulet box, and that allows you to connect to anything. While we're looking at the desks, I suppose it's worth mentioning as part of the move process, we wanted to evolve everything where we could, and we spoke to our PDs and our production community and our edit staff and about how they like to work. Quite often in our building at Key Street, we'd have a sort of L-shaped edit desk, a sort of edit desk here, and then at a right angle you'd have a producer sitting here working on the laptops. And it turns out that what they actually wanted to do is sit next to each other and collaborate and put their scripts out and share stories. So we went about designing some ridiculously wide desks. These are about 3 meters wide. And we used a company called AKA Designs to design these desks, and they came up with a really... We were a bit worried, actually, because of the width of the desks, whether they'd actually fit in the building. And I just want to play you a little video of how Guy Wilson from AKA worked out the logistics of getting them up the stairs and through the corridors.
We'll start from here. So it can go there.
Oh, it's gone flat. What happened?
Shut on video. Get through here. And then all right down here. Let's zoom out a bit. That's nice and easy. That's easy. Oops.
You can't see it on there.
Right, good. There. There. Then they can go in each room like that. It's not cheating. That's not cheating.
Getting forward as
Yeah.
well.
And then we can go. Can you hold that? And then that's going in this bit. This goes like that, and into that room, into that room, which we have to go into, and then that one go through that door. Without cheating. Get into there. That's very tight, that last one. Cool.
Any cameramen amongst you, your jobs are safe. And yeah, very high-tech method there of tracing paper and a scale drawing of a plan. I have chastised Guy for using his phone in portrait mode as well. So along with this network infrastructure, where we've got this core section of the infrastructure is allowing this Amulet to be connected to anything, anywhere. We concentrated then the majority of the traditional sort of broadcast and television and video infrastructure all over the 4th floor. Any room that you have on the 4th floor has a full complement of connectivity back to the machine room with video and audio and timecode and networking and that kind of thing. There's IPTV, where the video infrastructure ends. We can fire IPTV signals around from the routing system to pretty much any TV in the building, and then further afield in ITV as well. The actual IPTV system spans multiple sites in the country, and we can fire it to anywhere we like. We've also got the connectivity to the Dock 10 studios on the MediaCity site. We've got a fibre network that MediaCity have put in, and we've taken some fibres between the buildings, and our studio shows that operate there, sort of Jeremy Kyle, Countdown, University Challenge, those kind of things, use those fibres to transmit the data that is recorded at Dock 10 back into the ITV facility. And we also fire the video signal back and pump it around the building with the IPTV signal as well, so the production teams sitting in the Orange building at ITV can watch live what's going on the studio output. And of course, if you need to get your data around the country, ITV has its own 10 gig fibre network and the transmission circuits that we also have access to. So there's quite a lot of connectivity running out of that 4th floor machine room. In terms of what we wanted to do there in the building with all that infrastructure and the investment in that infrastructure, it was to make the workflows really a lot easier and better designed than they had been able to be at Key Street. And because of that connectivity that we'd put in, that's really allowed that. The desks in the room, so the rooms just having the desks and no computers in has allowed that work to take place. The flexibility that is introduced is gradually being used. And one of the key things, I suppose, around that was the change in the mindset of what you can do in a room. And it's really easy to put the infrastructure in. That's quite simple. When it comes to actually having people make use of that, that's another thing entirely different. We've had some sort of... We're trying to roll these things out slowly because obviously you don't want to run before you can walk, and just throwing people into a room and saying, hey, you go and edit in there, doesn't really work very well. what we've been doing is allowing people to sort of giving some people options of where they might want to work and saying, you can work here, this is how it would appear, this is what your facility would look like, this is where you'd sit and this is how it would sound, or you can go in this space and this is how it would sound and this is how it would look. And we're finding that people are sort of gradually taking up different ways of doing stuff that allow them to be a bit more flexible in how they work and how they approach their productions. So that was quite a big change that is going to take quite a while to roll out and change people's sort of approaches to things. Another change that we had to put in really was this distributed architecture at Key Street changing into a centralized architecture at MediaCity, along with the routing system of the machines. We actually put a video router system as well. And there aren't that many people at Key Street who had access to that type of facility. All the edit suites and all the dubbing theatres and grading rooms at Key Street had their own dedicated hardware, their own dedicated VTRs, tape decks. So the staff there and the operators hadn't ever really, there's very few staff and operators who'd ever come into contact with video routing systems, which sounds odd in a facility of that sort of size. But because we had the sort of capacity and the amount of kit that we did at Key Street, we didn't really need to. So there's been quite a lot of training and learning from the operational staff, both that we have in the building and the freelance community as well, around how this new facility works, how to get your head around being able to put a machine into any room. Even from the support point of view, we don't have to, when a machine breaks, we don't have to sort of go into the room and take the machine out and try and fix it. We just pump another machine into the room and fix it at our leisure. But then what happens when you come to playing out onto a tape or exporting things onto a file that might not be the machine you're working on? How do you get that to work? How do you route the systems together from hardware that used to be in your room to this big centralized infrastructure now through what is actually a fairly complex router that most people haven't done? So there's been quite a lot of training around how to do things on a practical level. I guess now I'd like to have a little look at, let you have a little look at some of the pictures, and I'll just talk through a little bit of some of the stuff that was going on as we were building and figuring out this facility. This first shot is a rather ambiguous shot, really, of the strengthened floor under the machine room. There are 61 racks in the machine room, so it's pretty massive. And the machine room is very large, so it's so large and so heavy that we had to put these steel structures under the floors to distribute the weight. Otherwise, we'd have fallen through to the third floor, and I doubt that the guys in Salford University would have appreciated that. So here we are, just fitting out that machine room, putting those cabs in, and this is some of the stack of wiring that the lovely chaps and chapesses at Route 6 had to cable up through the building. And that was an enormous task indeed, because every single cable has cable numbers according to our ridiculous cable schedule that I came up with along with our tech support team. And it's 6 digits long, which is quite long for a cable number. So every single cable had 12 characters, 6 at each end. It took weeks and weeks to thread all those little collars onto the cables and stick all the ends on. At the end of it, though, it looks very fantastic, actually. If you like your cables neat, there's some neat cables for you. That's the back of our jack fields. I know any geeky, techie people amongst you will like that shot. This one I really like. This is the inside of a box where they were doing some fibre work. Even the inside of the box is nice. At the same time as sort of building out that machine room and putting that cable infrastructure in, the building guys, the Overbury team, were outside making walls while we were cabling in. So it was quite a sort of, everyone was kind of on top of each other. You wouldn't know it from these shots where there were actually there's no one in vision, but we were pulling those cables through the machine room, and that space a week later looked like this. This is actually our media management ingest area and tech support area now. There'll be a shot of people media managing and ingesting and tech supporting later. Thought I'd throw in the obligatory shot of me in a hard hat, just because you've got to have one, right? Move quickly on. And this is just some of our, this is a shot of our dubbing theatre work in progress and the ridiculous size of the walls that they had to sort of build out to make sure that they were sort of sound isolated. Whilst all that building work is going on, of course, we're taking the Key Street side to bits. These are our old edit desks. Edit desk in the corner there, producer desk on the right-hand side, which we're trying to move away from. Packing them all up and chucking all of our kit into one of our old linear edit suites. I've got to give a bit of a shout out here to the tech coordinators that we had on the job, Tom Fitzgerald and Piers Edwards, who managed to keep track of what bit of kit was in that room and whether it was on a van and who had it and who was checking it in from which building. So they did an absolutely sterling job there. Off the kit went and installed into these racks. These are the racks, and this is the Amulet chassis I was talking about before. These are all the Zero clients that we had stacked up, and then they went into building these rooms. This is the dubbing theatre work going on, and a couple of sort of finished shots of what that machine room now looks like as of this morning. And our first dubbing theatre opened last week, and that's a shot of that one. And here's that media management area, fully populated with people doing their stuff. That sort of brings me to a close. So I just want to take the opportunity really to have a quick public acknowledgement of a couple of people who really helped bring that project together. There's a 360 staff, of course, especially Jude, Helen and Janine, who were amazing. We had some project support from Michael Winkler and Martin Suka sitting in the back there, which was absolutely invaluable. Our production support guys kept 2 sites and have continued to keep 2 sites running for the whole of this year incredibly well. Roger Sanderson, who's part of that team, has been an absolute legend and a voice of engineering reason for me and my silly ideas. I'd like to thank my boss for letting me just get on and build a ridiculous facility. And thank you for listening. So, any questions? Thank you. Any questions, anyone? How long will it be before we have to move again? I hope it's a long time because I don't want to do it again. I was a lot younger and had far darker hair this time 2 years ago. I mean, in all honesty, it's anticipated we're going to be there for quite a long time, which is why we've invested so much in that infrastructure, and we don't plan on moving anytime soon in a hurry. How are we going to keep up with ever-changing technology? That's a really good point, actually. But I think because we've put in this infrastructure that allows that centralized approach and doesn't really matter what all of the bits around the edge are doing. So the rooms that are on the ends of the infrastructure, there's not really a great lot in there. Each room that we've put in has got loads of network, loads of SDI cable, loads of audio, and loads of fiber. So there's generic connectivity really between the machine room and all of the bits around it. So what that means is, because we've got this, we've only got really one room to concentrate all of our sort of technical change in, and we just push that out to the rooms, the sort of satellite spaces around the edge. When it comes to sort of changing and new hardware and getting new computers, we just sort of pop that onto the end of the Amulet and stick it into the video router, and away you go. So if you wanted to change from this year's Mac Pro to next year's Mac Pro, it would just be a case of slotting it in, changing one end, and that would just update when you next log in. So hopefully it'll all be all right. We've also invested an enormous amount. Obviously, what I didn't mention earlier, but part of the change in going to this sort of file-based and IP-based systems as well is we've got 4 times as many switches that we used to have in our old building. So we've now We're running, if you like your Cisco's, we're running 4 4900Ms with loads of 10 gig modules in there. We're running 8 2906s. So there's I think Cisco had a really good year last year in their financials, and I think it was actually down to ITV moving. So hopefully we've got a really good infrastructure there that we can sort of update fairly easily. Fingers crossed. So can we take rushes on anything? Near enough, actually. I think we're out of D3 decks, but we've got NTSC, PAL, standard def, HD. There's some 1-inch. There's some telecine that we can do stuff in. And then when it comes to the files, literally, what have you got? Just throw it in the box, and we've pretty much worked with anything that there is out there, from GoPros and XF305s right through to Phantom Flexes and Aries and Reds and those sort of things. So a good old variety of stuff. Was there a specific?
I was just on a shooting daybreak on Sunday, and they said, "Can we have it in DV cam? Because it's being fed from Granada. We don't know what it contains."
I'll have a word with him. Is that everything? Thank you very much for your time. Cheers.